I'm ready.
Okay. Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on through our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. Let's start. What's up, family? Welcome to this live stream. You know, I didn't even do my normal did that introduction. I don't even do like the feel the groove, get on the floor when we do a show because I got some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, um, that was just reported, I believe, on the website by the name of metropolymix.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it says here that Dejana Jackson has been arrested in the United States involving the murder of Shanquella Robinson. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to, well, normally we do the show on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, so it's normal time. However, this is breaking news. This is news that we have been waiting for, and look who's joining me is Dad, Papa Richard, ladies and gentlemen. So it has been reported, according to this website, that an arrest has been made coming out of from November 28th, which was Monday, that Dejan Jackson was arrested by Interpol agents after a control judge issued an arrest warrant against her for the crime of femicide of Shanquella Robinson, who was murdered on October 29th in the Cabo Villas complex in this tourist destination. Dejan Jackson was placed in federal custody, waiting for her to begin her extradition process to Mexico, where she will be formally accused of the femicide of the 25-year-old businesswoman. We know Shanquella Robinson, who's on your right, beautiful sister, by the way, who was very successful, not only as a businesswoman, because I believe she was involved in cosmetics, but she was also a model, from my understanding, and had several. She had more than, I believe, 50,000 followers on Instagram. But they have issued this arrest warrant for her. It had been reported, and I'm just sticking based off the article that I have here, that an arrest had been made. She had over 99,000, so roughly 100,000 followers on Instagram. She had a boutique that she ran. Yeah, very gorgeous girl. And an only child at that point. Now, I've not seen anything, I have to say in fairness, from any major news source like ABC or CBS or NBC regarding this, because it was black media really that kept this story alive, new black media. When this was being reported and shown, that video that circulated that showed her allegedly being assaulted and punched and kicked by another female who I believe was Dejan in that video. I could be wrong. I said, I believe, I don't know for a fact. We wanted to get the bottom of it because They told her mother, and her mother, Miss Salamandrea Robinson, had stated that she died of alcoholic poisoning, but from the autopsy reports and the information we've had the coroner's report that came out recently, that was not the case. Her spinal cord was severed from the base of the skull. In other words, she was decapitated by listening to that. And because of the severity of that injury, I'm sure that shut down all of her involuntary functions, which meant her breathing, her heartbeat, everything shut down, which is why she was dead. They found her. They said, according to the coroner's report, it was within 15 minutes of the injury. So she had a very, very painful death. Goes on to say that the extradition process took between 1 and 2 weeks, resulting from the procedure that the Attorney General's Office of Justice carried out in the Attorney General's Office of the Republic, and this in turn to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico. The AG's office of the Baja California Sur managed to prove that the woman who appeared in the video attacking Shanquella Robinson is precisely Dejan Jackson, as Metro Polymix reported at the time. Now, it says here that Metro Polymix it prepare a special report that will be published in full in the next few hours. So they got her, according to this. And this is treated as a femicide. Now, I should note there's no name on this article other than the name of the company. But I'm going to go off of this. If we're going off of this, is true. Now, of course, I don't see this on ABC and CBS, and I've pointed that out. But this obviously is uh, from my. So Queen Everybody is saying that if you go to Interpol's website, there is nothing. Well, the thing is with that too is that they do not make announcements. I don't believe, especially when this thing was happening, they were not commenting about this. So they have not, if they had, released anything uh, regarding this. If this happened, they claim it happened on yesterday. Uh, that she was being extradited. If you go to the lead attorney's YouTube page, he reported it first as well. Shout out to him. And they stated that she was in federal custody. So it probably would not be on Interpol's website at this point. But they said that, well, there was already an arrest warrant issued, Queen Everybody, that she was, an arrest warrant was made. Now, they didn't name the person, and it's important in the arrest warrant, but there was seeking an arrest for this person. And based off everything that we know, because this did come out in several websites, that they were trying to begin an extradition process. Now, we do have to be careful with what we report, obviously, because I certainly don't want to say anything falsely. But I'm going off what this article said. I don't see anything on ABC or CBS, as I pointed out. But at either rate, if she has not been, let's say for the sake of argument, because I'll play both sides, had she not, or if she has not been arrested at this point, and if it is not her, then I will be happy to retract this. But I'm only going off what the article stated here. However, what it was reported and what I'm looking at, and I will put this article right here, Yahoo News, just so everybody looks at it. Now, they didn't name this. Mexico seeks to extradite American suspect in killing of Shanquella Robinson. So they are requesting, because they issued an arrest warrant, so it is definite that an arrest warrant was issued for her. And what may likely be happening, based off what several things, Dejon Jackson either, I'm reading this, they say she was placed in federal custody, so she has not been extradited yet. However, the process probably is beginning as she's being arrested based off of this warrant. Now, remember, there are two separate entities that are at work here. The feds, the FBI, is conducting their own investigation. The country of Mexico, because this happened in Mexico, they have concluded their own investigation, or they're in the process and they want this suspect. So they probably did. And based off, this is the Yahoo News article. Now, it doesn't say arrest, but it says an arrest warrant had been issued. Now, this was on yesterday at 9:23 a.m., and you corresponded with this. This is from today. This article I shared from Metro Poly News was November 29th, 2022. They said that she was arrested. Now, is Yahoo News a little more credible than Metro Polymix? I'll put it this way. I know Yahoo knows a little bit more. Sometimes I'm not even finding Yahoo News credible just because they push agendas. But if it was CBS, NBC, ABC, I guess more people would have faith because those are big names, or CNN and so forth. But what is true, the extradition process, those do take time because there's paperwork and negotiations that have to take place with the different nations. So bear in mind the feds are looking into this case as well. They can bring their own charges, and the country of Mexico can bring their own charges. Dad, why don't you give us your take on what you think of what's happening here?
Well, this was a heinous crime and a tragedy to the family of this 25-year-old. Her life is over. Her parents' lives have stopped all of a sudden. There's a sense of
You can go ahead and keep talking.
there's a sense of confusion and on the part of the parents. They don't know what to do. There's a sense of guilt on the parents because they couldn't protect their daughter, regardless of how old she was. And I think that if this person did do that, number one, she wasn't alone. Number two, they're going to find out who she was with, who had a hand in this. And number three, they're all going to be prosecuted. And if she did this, she needs to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And she needs to go to Mexico where she committed this crime and suffer the consequences of being in Mexico according to their judicial system. And that's all there is to it. You can't get away from the ABC of the events. She committed a heinous crime. Those affiliated with her in this crime need to be punished, and punished to the full extent of Mexican law.
Yeah. And I guess with Queen Everybody saying she works for the Bureau of Prisons, I'm assuming that's federal, Queen Everybody. I haven't seen you before, but welcome. But I mean, if she were placed in federal custody, what that obviously would mean from my status as a lawyer is that Mexico's issued an arrest warrant, which we saw and can verify is on Yahoo News. They issued a warrant for her arrest, and the United States. Wait, let me clarify too. They don't name the person, so I shouldn't say her, but I believe I believe who they refer to is her. Is that a little better to say? I think that's a little bit better. I believe this is who they're requesting. Yeah, I believe this is who they're requesting based off the information because they said an American woman. So it's not the man that we heard. Let me rephrase that. The coward, this sissy punk that's recording this, that didn't intervene and did it for clout. And I'm gonna tell you all, my understanding of that, I was listening to Lead a little bit, and he had a guest come on who I think was an attorney, who I believe was an attorney. If they were recording that, recording one is one thing as is a misdemeanor, but then if it results in a felony, it results in a felony if there's a murder. See, in the United States, in Louisiana, I can tell you, we don't have a femicide law, but I think what femicide just means is female on female killing. That's essentially what that is.
They had no right to take this child's life. And if a man was sitting up there recording, he not need be a man. He's not a man. A man would have interjected and stopped this foolishness.
Right. But according to the femicide, according to Women's Aid, femicide is defined as the murder. And I'm reading this. Hold on, let me stop because Danielle wanted to know this. But it's essentially what I was saying. But you go to News One, it essentially means the murder of women because they are women. Though some definitions include any murders of women or girls, feminicide is the most commonly used to describe killings of women by intimate partners and family members. It has also been used to describe gender-related killings in the community. So, according to femicide in Mexico has been an increasing problem. According to Visions of Humanity, the proportion of female homicides identified as femicides in Mexico has grown steadily in recent years. In 2021, more than a quarter of the 3,750 women killed in Mexico were classified as femicides. So that's what that means. So I think that gives everybody an answer. Now, if it is proven that she is not in federal custody, and like I said, we find out, then I would be happy to come on Thursday and retract what or sometimes we can retract what I've said. However, we do know that an arrest warrant was issued. And I'm going off this article, and if they retract it, because I'm using them as a source, I believe they are the news. I believe they are the news of the Baja in Mexico, because I'm reading just looking at it, the title, Metropoli, looks like it says the heart of the nation in Baja California Surf, which is where this crime took place.
What was her reasoning? Has there been a statement from her telling her reasoning for attacking this person?
I don't think any of them. I think they have made statements on Instagram, but I think what they did, they made posts and so forth, just basically try to defend themselves. Nobody has said anything. I have not seen anything fully clarify what happened. We see the video. This person was assaulted. That Shanquella was alleged, if it were authenticated as her, this person was being assaulted and didn't fight. The father and mother identified it as her, so I'll say it's her. Because the dad said she was never a fighter. That wasn't her. So that's what I saw take place. They took advantage. They whipped this girl. Probably they were upset at how successful she was and jealous, and it was a setup. That's my honest opinion. That's what the father believes. Because they just flew down there that day. And then they flew back and left her. So I wanted to report that and I got the article there, and we're gonna and I keep saying it on here where we got it from, because anybody says that I did something falsely or I just went out and slandered and try and get me on some Cardi B shit. It's not the case. You cannot slander. The truth is a defense against slander. I said nothing falsely. But I'm going off this information. That's the website that I got it, that Deshaun Jackson was arrested in the United States. Now, more information, if it is true, obviously more information is going to come out because ABC, NBC would be all over this by now. So, do I have my doubts about it? Some flags are raised, but I'm going off this thinking that it's true. Lead attorney was even talking about it on his YouTube channel. And when I saw it, I was reading it and I thought it was, coupling that with what I saw in the Yahoo News article. I thought it was, I think it was, I think, still think to some it's legit, but I haven't seen anything breaking news from CNN and MSNBC. But let's talk about that too. When this story initially was happening, they were not talking about it. It was New Black Media that was talking about it. It was people on Instagram, TikTok that were bringing this out because we saw what happened with her when she was getting slapped around, and then her mother and father coming out. Yes, absolutely, Danielle. That's what I said. The FBI gets involved as well. She wanted to know, can the United States prosecute whatever state they came from? Keep in mind something. As I told you all before, let me be clear, this is not creating legal advice or anything of that nature. I am an attorney, I'm not your attorney. But yes, if they find that there was a conspiracy, remember there's an agreement with parties, basically in combination, and they do things to enact in furtherance of a crime. So, for instance, if they were, I explained the situation, you wanted to get your buddies together so you can kill someone or beat the crap out of them, do whatever, do some type of harm. Number one, you're not supposed to put your hands on anybody. That's generally known as an assault if you did so intentionally and you did so to cause harm or great bodily injury, or and better yet, well, not better yet, but worse yet, you want to kill someone, if they conspired in any way, shape, or form, doing that, flying her out, knowing what they were going to do, and they were talking about and planning it in that city or in that state where it occurred, which I believe they're in North Carolina, if the Attorney General's office or the prosecutor found out about this, they could be charged with criminal conspiracy to commit murder. Even though it happened, the actual murder took place in Mexico. If they solicited, now I'm not aware of the laws of North Carolina, but I know what's going on. I know in Louisiana, if you solicit someone, incite someone to commit, it's called incitement of a felony, or solicitation for murder, which is murder for hire. You do anything, you paying them, just talking to them and giving them money. In some circumstances, is the crime in and of itself, just the agreement of it. So yes, it is possible that they could be charged in the United States as well, and that's two different jurisdictions, by the way. So they can work with the United States, the feds. Remember, the feds are looking at this too, because even though murder is not a federal crime, they look at it from a standpoint a crime took place in another country of a United States citizen. They consider that to be a very serious in and of itself. And certainly they can direct or ask the state's office to get involved and prosecute them with this. Another thing is there's some type of was there a kidnapping that took place when they got there? We don't know. Although it might be hard to prove that because they all flew together, and it'd be hard to say she was kidnapped or anything like that. But they left her body there at that hotel by herself for a maid to find her. No, she still has not gotten the Gabby Petito treatment. I didn't hear that line, but if they say they got their first body, or they said that, oh, Yeah, that is incriminating. And I got to say this, these people, these have to be, if this is all proven true, this have to be the dumbest set of criminals I've ever seen. You know why? Because this fool recorded beating this girl up and didn't think twice about deleting it, uploaded it, thinking he was going to get likes. That's the problem with this generation. It's like the idiot that robbed his employer and took pictures of the money when they got the bands on the money with the name of the employer on it. And you uploaded it on IG. The cops came right there to get him. They know what happened to the money. Thank you, dumbass. And look, I wear my lawyer hat better than a lot of other attorneys. I believe in the presumption of innocence. These people still, yes, they're entitled to, well, they're going to be in Mexico, so I don't know what the due process there is. But here in the United States, everybody's entitled to due process. Murder, terrorism, or even petty theft, or even jaywalking, you're presumed innocent. I agree with that. And we have that presumption in place. If you've read or know me, is because it's to prevent us from having witch hunts. It's prevent lynchings. That's why I go so hard for this stuff. Yeah, the idiot in the Ahmaud Arbery case. That's the same thing. Roddy Bryant. The thing was, he was even more guilty than, just as guilty as the ones pulling the trigger, because apparently from what they reported, he tried to hit Ahmaud with his car. He tried multiple times. And his attorney, whoever the attorney was, leaked the video. Yeah, of course, Judah. What's up? Shout out to Judah Queen Danielle Mott. Yeah, of course, this was planned. I believe it was planned. I believe that. They were plotting this murder. We don't know any other information than what's reported, but I think that was true. You have anything else you want to say, Dad?
I hope these people get what they deserve. And that is, in my opinion, they deserve to be executed. That's just my opinion. You know, I believe in
You believe they should be deleted?
eradicated. I believe in a life for a life.
Y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Let me go ahead first and foremost. I gotta step out for a second, but you mind if we play some music while I go out? I'll be right back, guys. All right, I had to come back. Sorry, I had to step out. Thank you, Judah Queen. Yes, he did say the murder was planned. He did say that. These are all snakes, PD. These are all snakes. There's a cautionary tale with all of this stuff. All you skin folk ain't your kinfolk. Your friends will bring you down quicker than your enemies. Look at Dr. King. I'm not going to repeat information I've heard, but there were people around him. Well, I can say this. The Reverend Billy Kyles reportedly, and Judge Joe Brown even talked to me about this, but he actually was on tape when Dr. King was talking about how he spent all that time in a room with Dr. King and Reverend Abernathy. That didn't happen, but he was on tape saying, and I played the video for you because Dick Gregory brought it up. He said, I stood on the balcony here. He stood there only as I moved away so he could have a clear shot. A shot rang out. Meaning he waited to move out of the way so the sniper could have a shot at Dr. King. That's how I interpreted that. And many other people in that courtroom interpreted the same way. The jurors saw it and were shocked. He said that. When William Pepper played that footage. So you got snakes everywhere. Malcolm X was bodyguard when he was assassinated, was an informant. So there are snakes everywhere, and you got to be mindful of it. But I've learned too, because I had, family members are even worse. I won't bring it, I'm not going to say too much about it, but, my dad, when he had, my father had his own business at one time. We had to deal, he had a very successful pharmacy. We had to deal with stealing. People we trusted. I'm not going to name names and get on to it. But that's stuff we dealt with. I've dealt with people who stab me in the back right now. Not, currently, when I was in law school. Now, obviously, is it on the same degree as this? No. But there's a message to that. Just number one, and I want to say this to everybody. We got to get to the next subject, but you got to surround yourself, and I think you agree with this, Dad, with like-minded folks. People that want to be successful with you, or successful just like you. That all, and you don't know everybody's emotions and what they're thinking, but there are some people I got to leave behind. Same thing, you learned this lesson too with Brother Takeoff, who was killed in Houston. Some places I just don't go. Some stuff I don't do no more. Especially that I've gotten older. Obviously, because of my career, I may go out. I got to go out at night and do stuff, but there's some places I wouldn't go. That's even if I'm strapped. Because, in New Orleans, Sometimes we can't bring guns in the bars. We can't unless they serving food and stuff. But they have restrictions on things. I really wish this young lady Shanquella was still alive. And there was a reason why, especially you brought people will bring chaperones and stuff around. Obviously, they don't need a chaperone in their 20s, but adults, especially older adults, that would be there because they know stuff like this wouldn't happen in their presence. But they took advantage of this girl. I think they knew she wasn't going to fight back. I think they were jealous. What exactly happened, I don't know. What was said, I don't know. I don't know what money they could have gotten out of it, but there are people who will kill just because of jealousy. And it goes back to the Bible. Look at Cain and Abel. Envy is real. Jealousy is real. Surround yourself with people that are like-minded. If you got to keep your circle small, do so. You can be acquainted with people, but you got to be careful, man. And poor girl didn't see it. I heard she was a nice person. She was very trusting. And there are people who take advantage of that. That's the point I'm making. I got to move on, guys, to the next topic. But I put that link to that article in the chat. Y'all can check it out. I don't have Metro Polymix. But yeah, that was the news report. They said that her arrest was made and she was in the process of being extradited. Now, there's something, a clarification or so forth, we'll deal with it when we cross that river. But yeah, that's what was reported, that there had been an arrest in the death of Shanquella Robinson from Metro Polymix News. They reported that. Right, Dad?
Yes.
All right. Next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to combine these two topics. It's House Bill 8404, Wake Up America. Now, I'm looking at this. Some of you may have heard this in the news recently or not. There is a bill in law right now that has passed the House. It's actually made its rounds in the Senate. They have been doing preliminary voting on it. And it's a bill to recognize same-sex and interracial marriages. And according to the text of the summary, what they write is, specifically, the bill repeals and replaces provisions that define, for purposes of federal law, marriages between a man and a woman and spouse as person of the opposite sex, with provisions that recognize any marriage that is valid under state law. They quote the United States versus Windsor case, which struck down the Defense of Marriage Act. That was a bill that was passed in 1995 and signed into law by Bill Clinton. The bill also repeals and replaces provisions that do not require states to recognize same-sex marriages from other states, with provisions that prohibit the denial of full faith and credit on any right or claim relating to out-of-state marriages on the basis of race, sex, ethnicity, or marriages or national origin. The Supreme Court held that state laws banning same-sex marriages were unconstitutional in Oberfeld versus Hodges. The court held that state laws barring interracial marriages were unconstitutional in Loving versus Virginia. It was in 2015 and 1967, respectively. The bill allows the Department of Justice to bring a civil action and establishes a private right of action for violations. So basically, they're establishing, by summary, is a violation if someone doesn't recognize your right to sue, because it's federal law. Now, you got to remember, with full faith and credit, a couple of things, meaning any law in a state that's with full faith and credit laws, and what was going to come up, the full faith and credit clause, excuse me. Basically, addresses that the duty of that states within the United States have to respect public acts, records, and judicial proceedings of every other state. And marriage is a public act. We have, obviously, you get a marriage certificate from the government. That's a record that they filed. You have children that's filed in the Office of Vital Statistics. Now, I want to be clear about this, and I don't care who interprets this anyway. This is not about me being judgmental. This is me truth telling. You tell the truth and shame the devil. I'm just as screwed up as a homosexual person or any other straight person. And I'm not coming out trying to judge people. That's not what I'm doing. But I want people to read and understand what this bill is about. Because as of today, it has passed the preliminary stages. You had 12 Republican senators, respectively, who supported this bill, and the Senate passes the bill with 12 Republican votes. And this is even after the Senate rejected 3 amendments to blunt the radical bill's impact on religious liberty. So what is going to happen is that now it has to pass the House again before it heads to Joe Biden's desk for signature. And a final vote in the lower chamber is expected as early as next Tuesday. Now, if you look at the results of it, the bill in general had been failing. It flopped. A lot of people hadn't supported it, but then they started to throw in, and it was reported by Professor Blackfruit and some others, that's interracial marriage clause that they have in it. Now, you think realistically, Loving versus Virginia was in 1967. Now, you think of this realistically, ladies and gentlemen. Who has challenged the validity of interracial marriages since that time? Realistically. I have not. Now, there may be people, of course, that have an issue with interracial marriages. Now, I know somebody was going to say Umar Johnson. No. Dr. Umar can dislike it all he wants. It's law. And really, in truthfulness, with regards to race, that is not an element of marriage. Because as we know, even among ourselves in the community, Black people, we have Black people of all races. Black people of all races, like Red Fox used to say. Dark, chocolate, mocha, brown, caramel, bright white, and damn near white. And that came, obviously, as we know, sadly, with the impacts of slavery. Our great-great-grandmothers were property, and sadly, they were raped by, and I mean, it was a great-great-great-grandfather, though by force. And some, and even on members of my side of the family, I was looking at my history. I have ancestors, and I'm not ashamed to say it, I have ancestors from France who married with free women of color. They were basically Robert De Niro before Robert De Niro even existed.
So this is about the Mann Act?
No. Mann Act was something different. Mann Act is the law that they put in place if you transferred women for illicit purposes, what they did with Jack Johnson.
Jack Johnson.
Right. This is called a Respect for Marriage Act that repeals the Defense of Marriage Act, which basically enshrines in law sodomy, homosexual marriage, same-sex marriage, and interracial marriage into law. And Joe Biden is expected to sign this bill because since the Senate has passed it, it now has to go before the House. for a final vote. And right now they're trying to get it done because the Republicans have control of the House next year. So 12 Republicans in the Senate jumped ship. Now, of course, I'm going to read this to you, and I'm doing this as a lawyer. This is what the law says. So, to repeal the Defense of Marriage Act and ensure respect for state regulation of marriage and for other purposes in the Senate of the United States. By the way, the author of this was Gerald Nadler, who is a Democratic representative out of New York. No disrespect to my family out in New York, but y'all are in a cesspool right now. If you're there or you're in California, I'm going to get to that in a minute, why I say that. That's no disrespect to my people in New York. I got a lot of friends in New York. I like some great things about the Big Apple, but the leadership I'm talking about is bad. So I just want to clarify that, but it's a cesspool. To repeal the Defense of Marriage Act and ensure respect for state regulation of marriage and for other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled, that, quote, this act may be cited as, quote, the Respect for Marriage Act, repeal of section added to Title 28 United States Code by Section 2 of the Defense of Marriage Act, Section 1738C of Title 28 United States Code is repealed. So is repealing, as we stated in summary, the definition of marriage between a man and a woman. That's what the Defense of Marriage Act was in 1995. It further states that under sections 1738C, certain acts, records, and proceedings enact and the effect thereof, no person acting under color of law, state law may deny full faith and credit to any public act, record, or judicial proceedings or any other state pertaining to marriage between two individuals. Now, watch that word, individuals. You see, words matter. On the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin of these individuals, or the right or a right or a claim arising from such a marriage on the basis that such marriage will not be recognized under the law of that state on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin of those individuals. Enforcement by Attorney General. The Attorney General, hold your question, okay, may bring a civil action in the appropriate United States District Court against any person who violates subsection A for declaratory and injunctive relief. There's also a private right of action of any person who is harmed by a violation of subsection A may bring a civil action in the appropriate United States District Court against the person who violated such subsection for declaratory and injunctive relief. State defined in this section, the term state has the meaning given such term under Section 7 of Title 1. So this gives someone, as I stated earlier, a right to sue if someone doesn't want to, let's say, issue out a certificate of marriage, like you had in Kentucky with was Kim Fox, I believe, not Kim Fox. Who was the clerk of court? Out of Kentucky, Kim Davis, that was her. When she got jailed, and she refused to issue out marriage licenses. So now they can sue them. Marriage recognition, they define marriage for the purposes of any federal law, rule, or regulation which marital status is a factor an individual shall be married if that individual's marriage is valid in the state where the marriage was entered into, or in the case of marriage into outside any state, if the marriage is valid in the place where entered into and the marriage could have been entered into in a state. In this section, the term state means the state, District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, or any other territorial possession of the United States. For purposes of the subsection, and determine whether a marriage is valid in the state or the place where entered into, if outside of any state, only the law of the jurisdiction applicable at the time marriage was entered into may be considered. Now, it goes on as a Section 5, severability. If any provision of this act or any amendment made by this act or the application of such provision to any person, entity, government, circumstance is held to be unconstitutional, the remainder of this act or any amendment made thereby or application of such provision to all the persons, entities, governments, or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. So what they're basically saying is, if the Supreme Court finds that this act is invalid, they're saying it still should be law. Saying it's still not affected by it.
He's a dumbass.
This is what they're saying. You need to wake up, America. Now, I said individuals for a reason, and let me just explain this. The main thing when you read the text, and I'm glad I pulled the actual text up so there's no confusion with anything, and everybody understands what's at stake here and what's happening now, is that, well, Judah Queen is going to be everybody's problem, because nowhere in that do you see any type of protection for religious groups. What is going to happen, ladies and gentlemen, because remember, before we had that law in place, the supreme law of the land is the United States Constitution. What is going to happen with regards to this? Anybody remember what this is? Let's read Amendment 1. Congress shall make no law respecting or an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So what this means is that Congress cannot make a law. There's what we call the Establishment Clause, and what we have is the Free Exercise Clause. They can't make any law establishing a religion and forcing you to practice it. However, they also can't stop you from practicing your faith either, what you believe. You see, freedom of speech is not designed to protect the speech we agree with. It's designed to protect the speech that we disagree with. Because we have to agree to disagree. You're not going to like everything Gavin Richard says. You're not going to like everything Leon Richard says or President Biden, and that's fine. But when we get to a position where we persecute people because of their religious beliefs, because they don't accept a behavior. Let me say this. I go to work with people who may or may not be homosexual. They don't say it out loud sometimes. I went to law school with it, so there's nothing new to me. But why is this an agenda? Why is this something that's got to be pushed? I perform here in New Orleans. I do comedy. There are a lot of gays in the area. That's just real. Like Dave Chappelle said when he on Saturday Night Live, when he went out to California, he said there were a lot of Jews. Yeah, in New Orleans, they got a lot of gays, especially at these bars and clubs. It's not uncommon you're going to see a rainbow flag. It's not uncommon, I may see a tranny. Now, I may not walk up to them and say, be nice, but, I'm always treat people how I want to be treated. I believe in that, regardless of their ethnicity, regardless if they're black, white, Jewish, Muslim, whatever. I say hello, you say hello to me. We get along. That doesn't mean I have to walk hand in hand with you either on everything. And I think we've reached that point in America where we have now persecuting and reach the people who disagree with you. America is at the brink of becoming a fascist nation. We are embracing fascism at an alarming rate. This is not the same thing as with black people, and don't you let them bully you into this, because I even had to check people with this. Don't you let them bully you, telling you this is a civil rights issue like what happened with Dr. King. Don't you let them do that. And I got to ask y'all, where's the church? The churches we go to, why aren't they saying anything about this? Where is T.D. Jakes? Where is Joel Osteen? Where is Creflo Dollar? Well, we know where he's at. But I'm looking at this. This does not, you noticed in that act that there was no mention of some type of religious exemption or exception. There, you notice that, and it's going to cause a conflict.
Already a conflict.
And be real. Let's be real about it. Nobody has really challenged, like I said, interracial marriages. That Loving v. Virginia decision was 55 years ago. There are people, of course, who have a problem with. Are there people who have a problem with blacks marrying white? Yeah, absolutely. But guess what? Tough shit. They can't do nothing about it already. So they used that, and that was another thing I didn't like. They used that as a throw-in so that they could get support for this because they know and you can look this up. I'm reading it right from LifeSite News. The report for that bill was waning. They had to add interracial marriages because they knew if they did that, then that meant everybody was going to support it. But when you look at the bill very carefully, look at it, it says individuals and a state. Full faith and credit means a state accepts the laws of that state. When same-sex marriage became legal in Massachusetts in 2004, that's what set everything off. Because once it happened in 2004, before that in 2003, there was a case called Lawrence versus Texas in the Supreme Court. And in that decision, the Supreme Court stated sodomy laws in the United States were unconstitutional because what people do in private was their business. And yes, to a degree, they're right. But of course, you can't obviously, if you're into BSDM, people can do that. But if you do it to the point where you choke somebody out and you kill them, guess what? You get charged with murder or you get charged with manslaughter. That happens. You can't do every damn thing you want. I want to be a millionaire. Guess what? I'm going to go in and rob a bank. I'm going to go in and rob Chase. What you think Chase is going to do? What you think the police going to do to me? If I thought I could do everything I want to do. You can't. And now I'm tying this in with this. Can Throuples to be recognized next? This happened. I'm going to put the article from LifeSite News so you can look at it, because I'm telling you, they didn't put any type of protections, and you can look at the Republican senators who supported it. You had Susan Collins of Maine, Rob Portman of Ohio, Tom Tillis of North Carolina, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Mitt Romney, former presidential candidate out of Utah, Roy Blunt from Missouri, Richard Burr of North Carolina, Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, Joni Ernst of Iowa, Cynthia Loomis of Wyoming, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, and Todd Young of Indiana. I want you in those states to recognize those names.
We need to get them out of those positions.
There's a
people don't want to accept the fact that, and I'm going to step on a lot of toes, but I don't give a damn, that marriage is between a man and a woman. The definition of marriage didn't occur yesterday or 100 years ago, over 2,000 years ago.
Well, human beings have been around before 2,000 years.
Regardless of what I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying. It was defined by Christ in the Bible.
Well,
if we are a nation under God. That's a known fact. But we use our own interpretation to justify the errors of our ways. We change and manipulate everything that we can to make sure that we know we prove we're right. just damn wrong. You can't make laws. You cannot make laws that supersede the laws of God.
Well, we're even if we put religion aside for a minute, there. Even if you look at, if we look at even in the People's Republic of China, the People's Republic of China is a traditionally an atheistic nation. Is an agnostic nation. They do not believe in a God, but they actually their Supreme Court back, I believe, in 2015 or 2014, they had ruled that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yeah, damn China.
No, Daddy.
What?
What do you mean, damn China?
I don't give a damn about what China thinks.
Daddy, that's not what I said. They believe marriage is a man and a woman.
That's fine.
But
I'll clap for them,
But let me
Well, go ahead and finish.
show. I'm putting it. There's some people on our channel who. There's some people in the chat who don't subscribe to Christianity.
Okay, that's fine.
But I'm telling and making a point that marriage, even if you don't look at it from a religious standpoint, there are people, and you can win arguments like this too, agnostics and atheists who believe marriage is between a man and a woman. And the People's Republic of China is an example of that.
Okay.
If you look at Native American culture, marriage is between a man and a woman. Even the Aborigines in Australia, some of them and even other nations that may be pagan, they still recognize marriage as a man and a woman. Now, I bring this up because remember that line I told you in that act, I said, watch what it said, individuals. Individuals based off sex, race, national origin, or ethnicity. So now, is this next? This is what you're reading, ladies and gentlemen, is true. A New York City eviction court judge, Judge Karen Bagdayan, concluded that Throuples are entitled to the same sort of legal protections as couples in eviction cases. This is in New York City. Here's the cesspool. The case involved three people: Scott Anderson, his boyfriend, Marquise O'Neill, and Anderson's husband, Robert Romano. Anderson and O'Neill lived in Manhattan's Hell's Kitchen neighborhood, while Romano lived in a different residence. And when Anderson died in 2021, O'Neill was denied the right to renew the lease on Anderson's rent-stabilized apartment because of Romano. O'Neill is not mentioned in Anderson's obituary, but Romano is described as his partner and the best thing that ever happened to him. Judge Badian said the definition, the case is, so what happened essentially is that when Anderson died in 2021, O'Neill tried to take over the rent-stabilized lease that his late boyfriend had held, but he was denied the right to do so because it was in Anderson's name, and O'Neill was not a quote non-traditional family member. So O'Neill sued the landlord, which was West 49th Street LLC, and took it to court, where Judge Karen May Badian ruled in his favor. Badian said the definition of family has changed heavily in recent years as gay marriages became legal and that monogamous two-person relationships were no longer the only coupling entitled to legal protection. She explained why then, except for the very real possibility of implicit majoritarian animus, is the limitation of two persons inserted into the definition of a family-like relationship for the purposes of receiving the same protections from eviction accorded to legally formalized or blood relationships. So this is Scott Anderson, who died. That's Marquise O'Neill. who was the third party, and this is Robert Romano, who I think was the husband. So they had a throuple. This is what they call a throuple. So now, according to this judge, family is now, the definition of family is now changing. Because gay marriage is now legal. So bigamy can be legal. Polygamy can be legal. Polyamorous relationships can be legal, according to what she said. Now, this is eviction court. Now, I must say, it is not mandatory authority.
Yes, Denise, I believe you're right. And that's when all hell is going to break loose.
I don't know who this is.
Danielle.
Shout out to the nerds. Keep up the good work. I don't know who the hell you are. Put them in timeout, please. Trolling bastard. Says, shout out to the nerds. Keep up the good work. Put them in timeout, I'll block him. Where my mods at?
And pretty soon, it's going to be legal to marry your dog and your cat. And sue when somebody calls them trauma. You're right, PD, Chicago. Pretty soon it's going to be Sodom and Gomorrah.
One of them was Pierre from Comedy Hype. He always got hate. So Becadian cited a case from 1989 when the New York State Court of Appeals was the first in U.S. history to recognize any sort of non-traditional or same-sex family-like relationship is entitled to legal recognition. She added that while there is some precedent from that case in Obergefell versus Hodges, which legalized gay marriage in America, that the instant case presents the distinct and complex issue of significant multiple-person relationships. Now, this is very interesting. She says here, she said that while Obergefell and similar cases don't specify anything regarding throuples, they do open the door for consideration of other relational constructs and perhaps, quote, the time has arrived. She also quotes Chief Justice John Roberts when he wrote, if not having the opportunity to marry serves to disrespect and subordinate gay and lesbian couples, why wouldn't the same imposition of this disability serve to disrespect and subordinate people who find fulfillment in polyamorous relationships? Now, Justice Chief John Roberts, I believe, voted against Obergefell in Obergefell versus Hodges. Remember, that decision was 5-4. You always notice that it's always a one-judge margin that decides what to do for the people. One justice making that decision, that was Kennedy, because he's known as the swing vote. He was known as the swing vote. What are you looking at? Daddy, what are you doing clicking on that? Leave it alone, please. Sorry, y'all. Now, I gotta ask, is Throuples next? That's why I had that there. Do you think that's going to be recognized with these laws? And we gotta ask ourselves, because it's not about me judging and saying this is better. All of us fall short in the eyes of God if you believe that. But I have to wonder and ask, especially what is the definite? If you're doing all of this, you basically have changed the definition of marriage from what has been known and how it's been working, I think, pretty well in the course of human history because it kept things simple. A man and a woman can create life. The word matrimony, the word matri, and the root of that word, matri, the root word means motherhood, matrimony, the state of motherhood, because it is through the sexual union of a male and female, a man and a woman, that motherhood results. And as such, the society can move on. That's what it meant. Now, we've redefined that definition to say it's now, no, it's not, it's now means something else. It's not motherhood. We don't need marriage because, marriage, yeah, they got people who are married, heterosexual, who can't have children. So that shouldn't apply anymore. It's not, that was one of the arguments they were making in support of overturning, of legalizing quote unquote same sex marriage, gay marriage. But to me, this is my opinion and I stand by it. And I have gay friends and colleagues who may disagree with me and liberals who support me disagree with me. I don't care. Fine. Understand. Marriage to me is a man and a woman. That's my belief. That's what I will believe until the day I die. And I stand by it. And I knew stuff like this was coming because marriage, if you look at it now, marriage is composed of the element gender. It was always the gender and number element. Two people, opposite sex. You're saying that opposite sex don't matter anymore. The gender doesn't matter. Okay. Now, what about the number element? So it is a slippery slope. Because remember, with civil unions, at first we want civil unions. Okay, we'll give you civil unions. Well, now we want marriage. We don't want civil unions. Well, we're giving you marriage. Well, we want marriage and we won't bother the churches and so forth. Well, you started suing churches, you started to sue schools, you started to sue Christians who didn't want to bake your cakes, who didn't want to cater your weddings because they felt it violated their First Amendment rights. Now, the Supreme Court had already ruled in favor of that baker who said he had a First Amendment right, freedom of expression, to refuse to bake a cake if he didn't want to do it for that wedding, a gay wedding, as a Christian. That's his right. And apparently, even from the facts of the case, they knew the guy personally. So they knew who he was and what he was about. They still wanted to try it, though, with him. It was really, from my understanding, the partner that brought up the situation to the board out in, I think this was in New Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, one of those states out there in the West, or Colorado. I think it's Colorado. And they liked it. He got along with the one gentleman, but the other gentleman who the guy was married was the one that filed the complaint. And they closed his business and he had to sue. And he won. So the Supreme Court has decided already in that. They did this, and the Supreme Court also decided in regards to churches that they didn't have to hire people if, as a church, if there's an organization or religious school, if you didn't want to hire somebody regarding that, that was your right. I don't know what you're talking about, Judy Queen. They were trying to get money. They're trying to get this. So so basically, Throuples, what's going to happen is, it's not legal yet, but that's going to be the next Supreme Court case. and that's going to tie up the court system. It's going to tie up time, money, dealing with this. So basically, and I was talking with Judge about this. So basically, what you're going to see four dudes going to City Hall wanting to get married. Or one man and two women. Hell, I'm cool with that. Although I don't know why a man would want two double the nagging. What is wrong with you? What do you think, Dad?
You know what I think? I think it's foolish, and the idea of a man living with a man, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I don't agree with it. It's not my lifestyle. I don't have to uphold it. I don't have to support it. If I don't want to serve you, if I have a business, I don't have to. If you want to sue me, that's your right. Go ahead and sue me. But you still ain't getting a cake.
Well, I mean, I just don't like the idea of what.
It violates everything.
What's a throuple? So a throuple is three people. So four people would be a quadruple, a quadpole, a quadpole, a quadpole, a quadpole. Yeah. And this judge is supporting that.
Well, he's stupid.
It's a woman.
She's stupid. Ignorant. Then you're going to have people going in and saying, this is my husband and a friend. And then you're going to talk about, well, I want them covered, added on to my insurance. It opens up a can of worms that they don't want to deal with the consequences. There are consequences to all of these things that they're talking about. The consequences can be very harsh sometimes. And these are consequences that I believe violate the laws of God. And they're going to be some strict consequences. I'm not judging, but that's what's going to happen. They've been warned. If they want to go ahead and play that popping cock game, then go ahead. I think that's foolish. A throuple.
I think one day people gonna try it. Yeah. Yeah, they have it here. Biden's bipartisan respect for marriage act one step closer to Biden's death. So it's going to the House of Representatives. Now, I will say this in following up. There could be legal challenges to this because remember, and I said this even when the Obergefell decision was made, the Supreme Court makes decisions. They interpret the law, but a law is passed by the legislature. So I believe if this does pass, that the AG's offices, particularly some in the South, will likely try to challenge it.
Well, it will
because it's not just the well. Remember, there is full faith and credit, but there's also something in the law called states' rights. There is an amendment. The 10th Amendment gives states' rights, which give them the right to run things.
So the states will say, we don't agree with it, we don't want it. Then what?
They're going to file suit in federal court.
Right.
So if the judge would make a decision,
and if the states say we're not going to accept this practice, you can't do this in our state.
Well, remember, the supremacy clause in the United States says federal law trumps state law. So they're going to make this as law of the land. And I mean, nobody really at this point has challenged it, but you know what this comes up from? When the Roe v. Wade decision was made, this was a response to that. And Clarence Thomas even talked about how they would challenge, if they wondered if we could go back and challenge Oberfell and Griswold versus Casey, which was the contraception cases, those cases as well. And let me clarify the Dobbs decision. First of all, I'm wondering, remember that decision was leaked, by the way, from the court. So nobody got held in contempt. Nobody has been arrested for leaking that to this day. We still don't know who did it. And I think that put the Dems on notice of it because it got overturned. And Roe v. Wade didn't outlaw what that decision did. They didn't overturn abortion. What they stated was that there was no fundamental right to it in the states. It should go back to the states to determine whether they want abortion legal or not.
Right.
What the Supreme Court did in Dred Scott was they said that Dred Scott was not a man in the first place to make any type of lawsuit because he was black. That's discrimination. That's racism. That's what you protest. KBJ will go for all this. By the way, who's KBJ? Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it up in a minute, but I wanted to talk about that because from a legal standpoint, the issues that might occur as a result of it, everybody, you got to be mindful of this because this is going to impact. Already the Oberfell decision has impacted the freedom of religion. It's impacted free speech. And, our congressmen, we got to say this, they got Congress people, they have no balls. I'll take it a step further. These pastors don't have no balls either. These priests. Well, some of them got their balls somewhere else where they shouldn't be. Because I got to call out, the Catholic Church. They've been silent about stuff like this, even though they're dealing with their own stuff. The black, I have seen Minister Farrakhan, the black Muslims, they've stated their position on it. You notice they don't try that. You never heard of a Muslim being sued. Do you? Have you? You never seen them be sued over gay marriage for not having a gay wedding in their yeah, but Ketanji Brown Jackson, PD Chicago, she's a useless pawn. Even with her being on the bench, everybody is conservative. Donald Trump stacked the deck. Brett Kavanaugh, you have Coney Barrett. It's all Republicans up there. They stacked the deck, 6-3. And more than likely, this bill will be signed. Because if it goes back to the House for a vote, the House is Democratic. So he's going to sign it into law. And you know what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you this. 2024, don't be so, and I know you don't like it, Daddy, but don't be surprised if you know who is back in office. I know you don't like him, but I really think that's going to be the ultimate backlash to this stuff, to the Democrats. It's not just that, just the stuff we've had to go through in the last few years. Nobody is happy with President Biden. Kamala Harris. Nobody wants her. Yeah, nobody. You really want Kamala Harris to be the next president? If something happens to Biden, she's got her hand on the trigger? No. That's the thing. She doesn't even read, from what I'm hearing, she don't even read her own briefings.
No, she doesn't. That's what we've heard in the media.
That's what's been, well, her staff members have stated that. I mean, there was a mass exodus from her office. I mean, we don't know her office like that, but yeah, but nobody truly is happy with Joe Biden in office.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I would not like to see Donald Trump
Yeah.
back in the White House. He is not the best. He's not the smartest cookie in the pack.
Well,
I mean, anytime a man talks about maybe we can open you up and shine a light on the virus and destroy the virus, he's about as ignorant as a brick.
well, I can tell you one thing about him. I'm not praising him, but I can say one good thing: we never had a major war in his tenure as president. He's the only president we didn't have a war.
I don't care. I wouldn't put him back if his life depended on it. Because he will set back. He's talking about we got to make America great again. He's talking about a return to Jim Crow, and I'll be shot and killed if I let that happen. That is he's the most ridiculous, ignorant man that could ever run for the presidency. I would be a better president than him.
Dems are not going to win. It's Trump or DeSantis. Well, I might have the Judge Joe Brown come on Thursday. We definitely going to have Reverend Kennard Childress come on. I'm also having Sean James. We're going to be talking about this, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to continue discussions on it. But people got to wake up and read these bills, these laws that are being passed, because they affect you.
Yes.
And you need to not. And when I say read it, don't rely on CNN and MSNBC, or even Fox. Don't rely on the news. Read it directly from the horse's mouth so you can look at it. Because when you read this stuff, maybe you'll wake from your slumber. Because I'm reading it as a lawyer, and I'm just have concerns. I have some concerns about it. This is not judging people, but I got some concerns. What is the impact? And take emotions out of it. You see, a lot of the people that make these laws and decisions, you see what they are? They're emotional. Oh, we want everybody. We want to love everybody. We want hell. Okay, if it's same sex, I got a question. What if it's two brothers? What if it's two sisters? What? They can't have children. I mean, what? There's no provision on that. There's no prohibiting that. What's to stop them from going before a judge making an argument for this shit? I'm sorry. I'm calling it like it is. And people don't like me. Tough shit. I've never been liked before. Oh, they want to know about what he's asking is, do you like the fact that Biden sends money to the Ukraine?
Hell no. He shouldn't send a dime to the Ukraine or any other country, because he needs to take care of people at home first. He needs to put the billions of dollars into the communities that need the money to uplift themselves. Ukraine, what has Ukraine done for us? And even if they have done something, he does not need to support the Ukraine. Does not need to support Ukraine.
Yeah.
Why support a country in which you blow up bridges, then you pay that country to rebuild the same bridges you blew up, but you pay them not to blow up the bridge? The hell with that. Blow the damn bridge up and the hell with it.
was looking at some old cartoons. They put, the audio of Dr. Neely Fuller on with a cartoon. And and there was one thing I'll never forget. I stopped laughing. He's talking about homosexuality. He said, "Next, what if I felt like trying bear?" you can't you can't smash a bear. Yeah, but I really like bear now. I don't like humans. I'm done with it. I want to try a bear. You don't tell me you're gonna try and smash Gentle Ben. Ugh.
And getting back to
But
the money, people.
well,
Biden said it.
hold on a second. There, someone asked, "Well, what did you think of George W. Bush? Because he was stupid."
He's about as stupid as the sole of my feet. I mean, this man didn't have any idea of what it means to be a president of the United States.
Yeah,
the greatest country that ever was in the history of man, and he acted like a pure idiot.
yeah. Well, what he did with Katrina is just.
I'm not gonna even go there because I experienced
I'll
Katrina
go there
firsthand. I experienced the lack of response from the first responders, from FEMA. I knew what it was like because I was a first responder back in Katrina. And this man had no idea of what to do. You need a leader who knows what to do when it's time to have something done. And it's better if that leader is well prepared in advance of anything that he might envision that would happen. You have to be prepared. It's better for you to be ready than to try to get ready. And that includes when you're riding in your car. You're supposed to have your gun loaded and cocked. You can't tell a carjacker to hold up, I'm not ready. You have to be ready instead of I need time to get ready. It was a fiasco. I was on the front lines with the state as a first responder.
All right, I want to see if Judge Joe Brown will come on so he can talk to Dr. Richard, and all you sissified little punks that want to put this damn law. It's got damn training, no damn judicial dysfunction. This stupid old bitch that made this damn law, this damn ruling, she had no judiciary functioning. I bet she went to school off of a damn law school on a damn milk cart. That's what we got here. It's some sissification, coonation, retardation. Well, I shouldn't say that because then they gonna come after me saying that word. Recognition, I'll just say that, of this disgraceful little thing to the judiciary system with your punked out, cooned out, burnt out ass. Now we're gonna get back into it because it's man up time. Oh hell, Valerie, Dana, let's just move on. We're gonna get out of here, y'all. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button, you sissified little punks. Please donate to the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, or Venmo that you see at the bottom as the channel is not monetized. But please come up and help. Someone asked what happened to Sean. Sean only comes on Thursdays. Nerds also come in chocolate. I gotta admit, that guy Pierre, was he talking about you nerds? I'm not sure if he wrote it. He said, "Good job, nerds." I thought he was talking about me and my father. That's why I blocked him. But if he was talking to you, then I don't.
I was responding to this lady who asked about gators. Well, being a first responder, I know for a fact that some people were swimming to a church. And this was a story from the National Guard, and they told me that this man was swimming to a church, and the priest was looking out the window and told him, swim faster. And gators got him. And gators were all over the area taking people. A lot of people lost their lives from the gators.
Yeah. All that was going on there. I mean, people disappearing that never returned.
Yeah.
That's,
I saw when we went to D.C. and I met with Hillary Clinton and
Mary Landrieu.
Mary Landrieu. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. And
I saw Barack Obama before. We saw Obama before he was a president.
Yeah, when he was a senator, and there was a lot that was going on in this city. A lot of things happened simply because majority of the people in this city were black. They did not want us to return. They wanted to turn this city, especially New Orleans East, into an area for cargo containers and drainage ditches or ponds, because they wanted to pump water into this area so that they could save New Orleans.
Well, what they say is that, and I have the book on that.
Yeah, very good book, I might add.
Yes, we've got to get the Bill Cosby book as well.
Yes,
Commonwealth of
and
Pennsylvania.
I may be making a political statement in a month or so about an office, for state office. Because my great cousin, great cousin, was the first lieutenant, first governor, black governor of the state of Louisiana. His name was Pinckney Benton Stewart, Pinchback.
PBS Pinchback.
PBS Pinchback. Look him up. He was according to my grandmother, that was her great cousin. I had people in the Civil War, Union officers, the PBS Pinchback, who did a lot for the state of Louisiana. They wouldn't let him go into the House, the Congress, when he was elected senator. The former governor of Louisiana protested and kept him out. There's a lot that our young people need to know that they're not aware of the problems, the situations, and the solutions. But one thing I will say, according to the Civil Rights Act, the most successful protest in the history of the Civil Rights Act was the Birmingham bus boycott. When you hurt people who are racist in their pockets, it really affects them. So consider that. If we all get on one accord, having $1 trillion in spendable cash, we could bring these people down to their knees if we coordinated our strikes to end racism. So please be aware of that. Teach your children about racism, about prejudice. Teach them about racism. It cannot be upheld. It has to be eradicated, identified, and thrown out. And those people who practice it have to be identified and removed from any public office. Racism affects everything from A to Z. The schools, the health system, the economy of your family. Racism affects them all. And we've got to eradicate that. We've got to get rid of it. So please, that's going to be my platform.
All right. Leon Rishaw for governor. All right, guys, we got to get out of here.
No.
All right. We got to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to wrap this up. We're going to thank you all for tuning in. Reach out to Pierre, the Nerds. You know Pierre Occult. Reach out to him. If he was talking about you, I'll unblock him. I didn't know. It's not that. And I'll reach out to him. But let me know the nerds. But if he was talking about you, if he's a follower on your channel and you see him, I just didn't know. But just from reading it, that's why if you say something and you vague with it, I block you.
Thank you, Danielle.
All right. All right. We're going to wrap this up. We thank y'all for tuning in. This has been another edition of Random Topic Tuesdays. This is breaking news. So you say you don't know the brother. Okay. Well, he may not be watching, but if y'all reach out to him, anybody, if he wasn't talking about me, then I apologize. We'll bring him back in. So, but I just can't tell. Some of the shit is vague. Some of y'all type of stuff look vague, but I had to do that before when I blocked my boy DJ B-Side because he was talking about stuff I didn't understand it, and he reached out to me via email and apologized. I said, "Oh, my mistake, man." But he was trying to be funny about me doing Charles Barkley.
Any chance?
I guess I don't know. I don't know. But personally, we're going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another edition of Random Topic Tuesdays is breaking news. So I'm seeing other people are reporting this as well about the arrest made. But we got to wrap this up. It's getting late. So shout out to all. I got some more work I got to do. And go to Amazon Kindle, buy Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. Destruction of Due Process in the United States. Also, go to knowledgecreoleblends.com. I got to point out we are doing an event this Saturday at NOLA Skyline, which is here in New Orleans East off Reed Boulevard, December 3rd. We have a pop-up shop where we're selling some Knowledge Creole seasoning blends. So if you're in the New Orleans area, come on out. We're going to actually have some samples that people can try. Nonies, which means, yes, there will be shrimp. And you can enjoy it and see if you can purchase this, all right? So I don't have anything else to say on that note, ladies and gentlemen, but justice for Shanquella is the main thing tonight, too. We're praying for her family, but we want justice for her. All right, guys.
I wonder if a lawyer is going to be, what's his name?
What lawyer?
The guy that flies over to every other person to every
Oh,
case.
Ben Crump.
Yeah.
I think didn't they hire Ben Crump?
He did?
I think they did. Of course, I'm not trying to make fun of Shanquella. I'm not, but we want justice for her. It's Ben Crump. We want justice for Shanquella. We want justice for everybody that's been offended. That's been offended.
Respect the man.
Huh?
Respect the man.
You do. I respect him too. I met him. He was real cool. But, you know, a lot of people, there are people in the community that don't like him because they say, they say he doesn't win. But y'all realize he's a personal injury lawyer. He's not a prosecutor. So he's not prosecuting these cases. But yeah, Tamika Mallory is trying to help. But yeah, I think they did hire. I think Ben Crump is working. Corey Holcomb, I remember saying, if Ben Crump came to his house, he'd sick his dog on him. He said that black man always losing. Yeah, I'm signing off. Yeah, let's see on Finance Yahoo. Yeah, I'm reading here. Let me see. I just saw it. Did they hire Ben Crump? Yeah, I think they did. And Ben Crump, he's not licensed to practice in some of the states. What he does is he'll get an attorney that he can work with, and he comes in on those cases. But I'm reading here. Okay. I think he is. No, I'm not playing the song tonight. I think he is. I'm not 100. I'm not 100% sure, so I want to hold off on it. But I think he. I thought I saw that he was. I could be wrong. All right, y'all. We're gonna get out of here. Let's go. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Come on, we got the door open. Y'all know I'm just good with impressions, so even if it was Ben Crump, Charles Barkley, I got Kyrie suspended because Kyrie insulted that man, that commissioner that paid him all that nice money, that nice slave money that he making, and you insulting that man religion? Oh hell no! Charles Barkley would never have done that. Now, if it were a black commissioner, I'd be okay with it, but not a Jewish commissioner, Ernie. I wouldn't have personally. I would not have been cool with it.